I'm like thrilled to have you. It's
Thank
just
you.
so funny because we hated each other so much.
So much. I mean, it is wild where we're at. I'm proud of my changes. I'm open-minded. I'm willing to have conversations with just about anyone as long as I know it's going to be good faith. And we have to find a way to bring the American people together because we are in the fight of our lives. Our government is not representing us. And the only way we can change things is if we're willing to build coalitions and work together on our system of government and making the reforms that we need.
So Anna went on Candace Owens' show. Heads exploded. Unacceptable. How dare you? You can't talk to the right wing. She has said the wrong things. That conversation is not allowed. Well, whether it's allowed or not, it happened. And we're going to break it down for you guys here. So they started off with talking about how the left-right paradigm is misleading and often abused. And a lot of people love that these days. Some people don't. They're in the tribal camps. We're never going to talk to anyone on the left. We're never going to talk to anyone on the right. You should only yell at them. Anything that we don't like that they have said disqualifies them forever. Well, Anna and Candace are not in that league anymore. And so they had a perfectly honest, frank, and interesting conversation. That's what happens when you put aside tribalism and talk about the things you might agree on, and something that our media doesn't want us to talk about. So let's see a lot more of this conversation, including some really interesting revelations by Candace, in my opinion. Let's watch.
To me, this isn't really about hatred toward Jewish people, which I find immoral, just like I would find hatred toward Muslims or hatred toward Christians. Like hating any group of people simply based on their identity is wrong. I've always been against that. Yeah, but yeah, it just seems like. I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, a lot of people, I think they were just kind of part of this algorithmic bubble where they're only exposed to one thing. And when it came to the Muslim population, I think that the dehumanization was seen in the media across the board. And that brainwashing worked for a really long time. I mean, it definitely convinced Americans to support wars that we shouldn't have supported.
Going back to those presets when we're in our youth, 9/11.
Yep.
It was so raw. It was so scary. The way they made us stand up at 9/11 every day, the time in school, moment of silence for what the Muslims did to us. But think about that's kind of. So I was just like, Muslims, like this is just how they live. This is what they do, and didn't register to me as Islamophobia. I just thought I'm educated. It's a token of your education to understand how despicable Muslims are.
I think that is a super interesting conversation, and. Candace Owens gets a lot of flack from people who love Israel, of course. But she has said some things I don't agree with along those lines. I don't like to talk of Talmudic Jews, etc. But here's what Candace never gets credit for. The fact that she is fighting super aggressively against bigotry when it comes to Muslims. Did you hear anybody in mainstream media going, look, I don't agree with what she says about this or that. But atta girl, look at that. I haven't seen anyone fight this aggressively against bigotry against any group in a long time, and she's on the right. Wow, that's amazing. Same thing for Tucker Carlson these days, Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. No one's ever given them credit for that. And so I do. I think she's done an amazing job of fighting against bigotry against Muslims. And it doesn't mean she's right about everything, but what it does mean is that's a super positive thing that you can't take away from her. So if you say to me, no, because I disagree with her about something else, I want you to invalidate what she's saying about Muslims. No deal. So look, I've got a lot more where this came from because this conversation took a lot of twists and turns, including whether Candace feels like she was used by Daily Wire, including along racial lines. Super interesting. But Yaz, I want to bring you in here. Is it a fair point to say that that's a beautiful conversation to have about telling the right wing and the left wing, no, of course you shouldn't hate Muslims?
It's so sad to me that it needs to be said out loud, but that is the reality of this country right now. And Cenk, I think I've made this point before. Muslims make up maybe like 1 or 2% of the entire population of this country here. Most people, I mean, they exist right there in front of you, and you haven't noticed them for this long because they don't bother you. They kind of stay to themselves, they do their thing, they go to work, they go home, they go to the mosque, they go home. You don't notice them because they're not bothering you. But also included in that 1 or 2% of Muslims in this country, Cenk, are people like me and you, right? I'm not even a practicing Muslim. I'm not a religious person, but I still technically count within that percentage. But we are just American people. And so the fact that anybody has to assert that they're American enough or that we're not trying to do Sharia law on you, right? Like, it's so ridiculous to me. And I do give Candace a lot of credit for understanding where she came from, that understanding of Muslims that she had growing up, and coming around and being like, oh, that was propaganda, because it really was. And especially if anybody remembers, Candace and I believe we're about the same age. We actually grew up not far from each other as well in Connecticut. But what's interesting about the 9/11 era was how Islamophobic the whole thing was. And I've said this before, where, I really do think that the way that George W. Bush was able to convince the American people that we had to go to war, we had to invade Iraq, was Islamophobia, because the American people knew that Muslims did this. And so a different Muslim country, we were just like too uneducated, too ignorant to understand at the time, and this is real, that was a different country, that those were completely different people, that Iraqis, as far as we knew, had nothing to do with what had happened on September 11th. It was just so much misunderstanding. And you would think that 20 years later, we understand that better, which we do. But what I've noticed is understanding that better doesn't necessarily translate in the sense that we don't recognize that pattern again when it is represented to us, maybe repackaged a little bit differently.
Let me tell you about someone we hired recently. Great on paper, sure, but what really sold me? They were genuinely interested in the role, asked smart questions. You could tell they actually wanted to work here. Their excitement made their resume stand out from all the others. If you're hiring, you want a candidate who's passionate about your role. But you can't get that insight from just a resume unless you post your job on ZipRecruiter. Now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds qualified candidates quickly. And ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested, qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. Candidates can tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. No wonder ZipRecruiter's the #1 rated hiring site. Find candidates who really want your job on ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. That's ziprecruiter.com/TYT. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
We are very, very bad at pattern recognition here in this country. And I need us to get better and like quickly, because it's getting very tiresome.
Yeah, so look, I give both Candace and Tucker Carlson a world of credit for getting past the Muslim hatred propaganda that got spread in this country. But it's not just that, guys. And by the way, let's note for the record, their denunciation of bigotry against Muslims is better than any person in mainstream media. I haven't seen any cable news anchor say that as forcefully as Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson has. So they say, well, bigotry against people who support Israel, utterly unacceptable. Bigotry against Muslims, that's what they get paid for. And it's not just to randomly hate Muslims. It's not, they're like, there's 1 or 2 Muslim attacks and inside the country, and they're like, God damn the Muslims. Meanwhile, there's several million Muslims in America. To Yaz's point, they're dentists, they're accountants, they're plumbers, they're ranchers, and they didn't do anything to you. You didn't notice them because they're not all something. When you say it about any other group, it's considered unacceptable, but mainstream media has spread that hatred actively against Muslims. So they are much more immoral than Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson on this issue, and it's not really even close. But it's not just to spread hatred, it's to spread hatred for a purpose. What did we do after all that hatred against Muslims? Global war on terror. Was it really a global war? No, it was all in the Middle East and and that region. Why? Because that's where Israel is. And so we attacked all of Israel's neighbors, by the way, including Iraq. Iraq didn't attack us on 9/11. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, but boo, Muslims. Boo, you gotta attack all of Israel's neighbors. And we did, we spent $8 trillion, we wasted $8 trillion attacking everyone that Israel wanted us to attack. They literally gave us a list of 7 countries. We attacked all 7 as everyone on television was telling you, hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims. If Candace is undoing that, then she's doing an enormous service to the country. If you don't like me saying that, I don't care. If you say, hey, I don't like what she says about something else, so I want you to hate the part where she says people shouldn't hate you. Why would I hate that part? No deal. But we got a lot more where that came from. So now Anna's gonna ask an interesting question that leads to this exchange.
Do you feel like you were kind of used as a tool earlier in your career?
Absolutely, I know, not feel. It's a fact.
Because when you're critical of, let's say, the Black community, oh, they love it, right? That's when you get a platform and you get all the plaudits and speaking engagements. But once you speak out against what's happening in Gaza, you're not that useful tool anymore.
That was one of the things that was really hard for me to contend with personally.
Yeah, so you wanna smear Black people, here's a big check. You wanna smear Muslims, an even bigger check. You wanna question our foreign policy in regards to Israel, you're fired. Okay, that's a fact, that's what happened, but more on that issue here.
Kind of in the midst of the same topic, really, right? So it's like you're talking about a race. You're saying, okay, this thing happened. So they were saying October 7th happened. BLM was saying the George Floyd thing happened. This is going to be the impetus now. And they were doing things that, in my view, still to this day, were just wrong. I don't care what happened in Minnesota. You don't have the right to go into Target and grab a flat screen TV, right? And so I wanted to do a documentary. I wanted to dive deeper on the topic. And it was round of applause from a Daily Wire. This is amazing. Give her a platform. Then I watched virtually the exact same thing, right? Using race as an excuse, saying, oh, well, we have to do this for Jews. You had this event, this event that happened, which was singular, and then they tried to extrapolate it, and I'm going, well, it's still wrong, right?
Right.
The law is the law. Like, morality is morality. Doesn't matter if a Black person does it or if a Jewish person does it. You don't get to rob and steal Palestinian homes.
Exactly.
And suddenly it was, you're an anti-Semite. You deserve to have nothing. You shouldn't even be allowed to travel to Australia because you are akin to Adolf Hitler.
That's
the
crazy.
Same people that gave me the platform.
So guys, if you don't know this, the thugs who work for Israel affect the powerful in Western countries tremendously. And they make enemies lists. So for example, myself and Hassan Piker, my nephew, are about to go to the UK. We're gonna give a joint speech at Oxford, and we're both gonna be at South by Southwest in London. And there are forces inside the UK trying to block Hassan from entering the country. Why? Because he said naughty things about Israel. Who cares? They're not even saying he said something bad about the UK. They're like, who cares about our own country? We must protect Israel. No one's allowed to say anything bad against. Why? Why? Who cares what Candace Owens said? By the way, as I've told you before, she says stuff about Talmudic Jews that I don't agree with, right? So that's bad, and I could argue against that and have that debate. But why do I have to ban her from going to Australia? If I got to ban everyone who says something negative about Muslims, nobody would get to travel. Okay, but Muslims don't have that kind of power, and people who support Israel do. Let's keep it real. So, but look, guys, it's not about race or religion. You have to apply things equally. That's equally true of discrimination against Jewish people. Are you crazy? Don't do that. That doesn't make any sense. And you heard Anna and Candace say that in the beginning. It's true of Muslim people, it's also true of Jewish people, it's also true of Christian people. You apply the same laws, the same philosophy to each group. No one is above the law. No one is above or below other people. So these should be obvious. But if you defy Israel, there will be consequences. And they spoke more about those consequences.
A very tough pill to swallow.
So Australia banned you after you said that it's a genocide?
Yeah, that was the beginning of I was temporarily banned for ads from YouTube because they are organized online and started mass reporting my new channel. I got banned from Australia, got fired from the Daily Wire. They started putting pressure, Bench Bureau in particular, on, this is the Zionist lobby. It's not just in America,
powerful.
It's global.
Yeah.
And so I went from being a rock star to suddenly she is Adolf Hitler and deserves nothing in her life because she has a moral principle. So you kind of look and you go, well, I have two options here. I can play the game.
Yeah.
And do like the majority of people do and just look the other way and say, oh, I don't really care about what's happening overseas.
Go along to get along.
Mm-hmm. Or you take a bold stand and you say, I'll rebuild it. Because I don't want to have a house that's made because I'm silent on issues that actually impact my soul.
Yeah, and guys, this is not about Candace Owens or Hassan Piker. Do you know that the Israelis got a whole bunch of countries and banks to sanction UN officials who accurately labeled Israel's war crimes as war crimes in the United Nations? They're like, how dare you do your job and try to protect innocent civilians? That's it. Make sure she can't travel, she can't access money. And they brutalize innocent civilians in 1,000 different ways to make sure that no one is allowed to criticize Israel. So if you're gonna, you should blame Candace Owens for speaking out against that. No, I will not. No, I will blame her for the things I don't agree with, but I'm not gonna blame her for things that are absolutely true. And it's not just about her. It's about that network that definitely exists. And then the other disgusting, annoying thing that Israel supporters do is they go, oh, that network that's trying to ban you from different countries and debank you and get you fired from your job, you're the victim of it? We don't believe you're a victim. So what? Who cares? We're allowed to do anything we want to you. And if you've been victimized by us, you're imagining it. Well, we're not imagining it. They try to get Anna's husband fired from his job as a gym teacher and a coach. Why? He hasn't said a word about Israel. No, the thugs came in and they feel perfectly justified. They're like, I have this wonderful elixir. It's called anti-Semitism. So the minute I throw that card out there, I could destroy you. Yes, that's what you look like. That's what you act like if you're one of those thugs who try to brutalize anyone who disagrees with Israel. So no, you don't get to destroy our lives and pretend that you're the good guy. You're the ones defending genocide and slaughter. You're not good guys, you're definitely the bad guys if you're in that camp. So now they talk about how it's a bit like a cult, which I couldn't agree more with. Let's watch that.
Not even a religion, a cult. And how quickly I was sort of excommunicated. They tried to, just as if you're leaving a cult, convince me that I was the crazy person.
Right.
For saying something so sensible. Like, hey, killing kids is wrong. We shouldn't do that. Like saying a statement like Brian Mast did about the Palestinians, there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian, which is what I was tweeting about in particular. Everyone should just have been like, of course, this is a wrong statement from Brian Mast. But they tried to play this psychological game on me where they were gaslighting me.
Like you were in the wrong because you realized that you have a sitting United States congressman wearing the uniform of a foreign country in the halls of Congress, talking about how it's okay to just slaughter an entire group of people, including women, children, elderly people, because of the cult he's in. It is a cult. Mm-hmm. And I mean, what are our values as a country? You'll see conservatives cheer on what's happening in Gaza and now Lebanon, and then purport to be pro-life.
Yep. That was one of the big ones for me where I was going, we're pro-life and you're telling me that there's an exception because you have some heretical theology that's telling you that, oh, all of these rules are of course we should be abiding by this. And of course it's the right thing to do. And God, Jesus Christ. And then they go, oh, but unless it happens in Israel, then it's okay. So I'm like, oh, wait, so there's this random carve out where we can mass murder kids as long as it's in Israel? Why doesn't every mass murderer just go to Israel and just do whatever they want? And then you just go, well, they're chosen. So this land is chosen so they can do whatever they want on this land. That was shocking for me. And it made me go a lot deeper on theology. I was like, what am I missing here? Like, how did I miss that I was in partnership with these people that you're right? This is not a theology for them. This is a cult.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Zionism is an obvious cult, and it's a nationalist cult. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. In fact, they attack other Jews all the time, which makes sense. That's how cults work. Because if you leave a cult, they hate you the most, right? So they'll chase you down to the ends of the earth. So some of these pro-Israel groups in the past have made lists of self-hating Jews in America that they also targeted. The same terror, in my opinion, thug terrorist network went after Jewish Americans. How dare you defy Israel? You left a cult. We're gonna destroy you. Yeah, you look like a cult. That's exactly how a cult acts. We're allowed to kill people. You're not allowed to. Of course, nobody's allowed to. But we have special rules, and we don't have to listen to the rules. And we follow this maniacal leader who tells us to kill people. And it's because we're special. We're special. So look, I don't know any Jewish American here that believes in that Jews are the chosen people. I just don't know anyone like that. I'm not saying they don't exist in America, but I don't know anyone like that, and I think that they're a tiny, tiny minority in America. In Israel, that cult is gigantic. You just go to ask any settler and they'll tell you, God chose us to have this land, and we get to clean out the Palestinians, kill them, sometimes rape them, and use any kind of violence we want to destroy them because God loves us and hates them, and we get to do anything we want them. Don't tell me the settlers don't believe that. Nearly 100% of the settlers believe that. And that is a very dangerous cult and backed up by some of the most powerful people in the world, including here in America. Now we get to the double standards. Let's watch that.
It's the way these people speak to us, and I'm saying left and right. The way they speak to us when they call us evil, psychopathic.
When we're worried about innocent people getting killed, like that, at the heart of it is that we find it immoral, just like I did on October 7th. I find it immoral when civilians are targeted and killed. So I was not ever one of those people who cheered on what happened on October 7th. Right. Never, I never would. That goes against who I am as a human being. I value human life, and I don't think civilians should be targeted for any reason. Anytime they are, the person doing the targeting, the group doing the targeting is in the wrong, period.
That's it.
So when you now have upward of 75,000 people killed in Gaza, and you mention that to a Israel firster or a Zionist, and they respond to you immediately by saying, what about October 7th? What that communicates to me is you do have a problem with civilian lives being lost on a particular side. But civilian lives mean nothing to you. At first I thought when it comes to the Palestinians, but no. I feel like human life doesn't matter to them at all unless we're talking about a Jewish Zionist. Because if you're a Jewish person, like Dave Smith, for instance,
they'll kill you too. They could care less.
But you're not
you.
a Zionist? They couldn't care less. You're right.
Yeah, and so guys, that double standard is obvious. Listen to what we're saying and listen to what mainstream media says. We say, no, hold Jews, Christians, and Muslims to the same standard. Do not hate Jews, do not hate Muslims, do not hate Christians, do not judge people based on their religion. We say that a million times. And mainstream media goes, no, that's unacceptable. You're canceled. You should hate Muslims, and you're not allowed to say anything about Jewish people. Fine, we're not saying anything about Jewish people. You're not allowed to say anything about Israelis. You're not allowed to say anything about their government. Why? What is this insane double standard? So who's the bigots? There's no question mainstream media is the bigots. They're the ones spreading hatred on purpose, and they're totally unapologetic about it. And whereas Candace Owens basically apologized for having done that in the past, she regrets it because she realized it was wrong. See, that's contrition, that's a real human being. And by the way, with tons of flaws. I'm not just saying like in passing that I disagree with her on other things. I mean, some of the things she says, I don't get it at all. I like the Bridget Macron thing to me is, I just don't get it. I have no interest in that. I don't think that's true. And again, anytime we talk about religion and where the Talmudic Jews or anything came from, I have no interest in that, and I don't want it, I don't care about it. I want to treat everyone the same. But the Israelis and American media and government says, no, Israel gets special privileges. So guys, it's indisputable. Last thing about this, and then I got two more clips that are so good. We say the 36 kids killed on October 7th is a tragedy and terrible, and everybody agrees. And we say, yeah, so the 23,000 kids killed in Palestine at a bare minimum is at least as much of a tragedy. And American media and government, and let alone the Israelis, go, no, we want to fund that. We want you to pay for that slaughterhouse of 23,000 kids. Don't tell me that you value them the same, you don't. If the American media valued those kids the same, I mean, they flipped out over the 36 kids killed, and they should. But 36 kids were killed over and over and over and over and over in Gaza. And did you see them flipping out? I didn't see it. They called Hamas the most disgusting terrorist of all time. Okay, then they turn around. Israel does what? Like 5,000 times worse, literally 5,000 times worse. And they're like, collateral damage, the Palestinians had it coming. They were hiding behind human shields. It's not that big a deal. We have to fund them. If you don't fund that slaughterhouse, you're an anti-Semite bigot. No, you're the bigot. You're the disgusting racist bigot, cable news anchor, mainstream media so-called reporter. And then you have the temerity to judge Candace Owens or Anna or anyone else? No, I'm not interested in the judgment of mainstream media who have been disgusting bigots my whole life. And totally unapologetically bigoted and with an obvious double standard, let alone what we're about to see next. So let's watch this next clip.
There's something right now that feels very fragile. They're getting so increasingly desperate. Like
they are.
We're going after people's husbands. We're going after people's lawyers. We will try to just harass you, and it's obviously not working at all.
It's not working.
I'm like you. I just dig my feet in even more, and I'm like, let's suit up for battle. Let's do this thing. I'm not going to be broken by this. You guys have tried so much. But right now, I mean, the radical nature of Trump's tweets right now.
Oh my gosh.
They're unhinged. And at its core, it's just he's being instructed to attack people who don't support Israel.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
What are we getting close to?
Yeah.
That's my question. What are we getting close to? If they don't feel like they're in control right now. They feel like an animal backed into a corner that's fighting and just lashing.
They are in control of the levers of power, right? And that's definitely scary. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to minimize that. But at the same time, they are no longer in control of the narrative, and Americans are waking up to just how much our government has been, I mean, for lack of a better word, infiltrated by people who are much more concerned with foreign policy that benefits Israel above and beyond, what's better for the American people. The thing that gives me a little bit of relief is knowing that people on the left and the right are waking up to it. Like that gives me hope. The fact that the individuals you're referring to who are backed into a corner don't have control of the narrative, that's why they're backed into the corner. And they don't know what to do. So they're lashing out and attacking family members, but it's only helping our cause when they do that. Because people see it and they're just like, ew, this is disgusting behavior. Why are you going after a PE teacher who never said anything about Israel at all?
Yeah, so two things. First of all, if you're offended by the fact that Anna said that there's people who are supporting Israel that have infiltrated our government, I give you Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and I would argue Cory Booker, and I would argue 94% of Congress who took money from the Israeli lobby, and oh golly gee, Israel wins every vote in Congress. But reporters in America say that's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. So which leads me to, wait, who's the real cult? Right? Because we were told that MAGA was a cult and everyone who voted for Trump was in that cult and that they would never break. But wait a minute, you just saw Candace Owens, who definitively supported Donald Trump, tell you that Donald Trump's tweets are maniacal. She broke with him on Iran, on Israel, on the war, on Epstein files. So did Tucker, so did Megyn Kelly, so did so many others on the right. So there's still some. And now if you say like the remnants, the leftovers of MAGA are a cult, okay. I mean, if they didn't break after all, that Trump broke every single promise he had, that's fair, okay? But all the people who voted for Trump, apparently they were not a cult. On the other hand, you go to mainstream media. They won't change their mind about anything. They won't learn any lessons. They love to cancel people, excommunicate them. They love to smear and shame people just like a cult. They never reconsider their positions. They're massively biased in favor of one country and not anyone else. And they all think the same. They all talk the same. They all believe the same. Mainstream media is a sick cult. And every once in a while, when someone doesn't go along with their cult, for example, me at MSNBC, but many people at MSNBC back in the day, they get kicked out of the cult. And then they get shamed and smeared, because that's how cults work. Last one's about Epstein files.
It's like priming you to be accepting of something that just goes against your core principles.
And for Jewish Americans too, so you can understand why they reacted the way that they did right away.
Of course, yeah.
They're gonna get that 20 times worse. It's gonna be your stories about your grandma in your book. You go to temple, you go to, you go to synagogue, and you're gonna have those presets. And then it went too far. And a lot of them snapped out of it. And now I get Jewish people emailing me, being like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why I'm being told I have to defend Jeffrey Epstein.
Can we just address how brazenly obvious, when every pro-Israel media figure comes out at the same time and basically says, oh, there's no big deal with the Epstein files, they shouldn't be released. You're giving it away. Like you're giving it away. Like you guys are too obvious. And what I'm wondering is, was the propaganda always this bad? Or is it that we're just a lot more awake now because there's diversified independent media? People are kind of breaking out of their bubble, so it's harder to lie to us. So their propaganda muscle has atrophied to some extent.
So well said.
I also totally agree with that. As Bane told Batman, victory has defeated you. Israel supporters have controlled mainstream media my whole life. Israel is the innocent victim as they keep taking more and more land, as they've brutally occupied Palestinians for 6 decades. And the entire time, our entire media lied to us and told us the Palestinians were the bad guys. They were the vicious terrorists. How dare they try to free themselves? They should be brutalized. And they should never be freed. And Israel is their victim, and they're only doing self-defense. But look at the disgusting liars in mainstream media that look at Gaza. We all have eyes. Gaza's utterly destroyed, and they go, no, Israel's the victim. They were doing self-defense. Well, you're lying sons of bitches who are in a sick, disgusting cult that celebrates death and destruction and genocide. That's not Candace Owens. That's not the right wing. That's not the left wing. That's the establishment in this country. That's Israel supporters. That's all of cable news. And Anna's totally right. The minute the Epstein files came out, all those same people were like, not a big deal, not a big deal. Let's move on. Let's move on. Why? Norway didn't flip out. Bolivia didn't flip out. Tajikistan didn't flip out. All of Israel's supporters flipped out. Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, move on, no big deal about Epstein. So yeah, Epstein, Israel, no question about it. Read the drop site news articles. Every international deal Epstein did was on behalf of Israel. There's no question he was working on behalf of Israel. The only reason, if you don't know that, the reason you don't know it is because mainstream media is that cult that tries to brainwash you into agreeing with the guys doing the genocide, the guys who were connected to Epstein, who did those terrible crimes. But they don't want you to know any of that. Instead, they want you to blame innocent Muslims so Israel can have us pay for more of their wars. Yaz, I know it was a lot there, but let me get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, just real quick. I think what's so interesting about just the conversation surrounding the conversation between Candace and Anna is that overall, a lot of people actually seem supportive of these two sitting down and talking to one another, which I thought was really nice to see. Other people are, they have been a little less forgiving of Anna for talking to Candace, but honestly, I think that's just unrealistic. It's unrealistic to think that people like Anna and Candace cannot, do not, or even should not talk to each other in a way that is not antagonistic. It's just not real life, right? And after 10 years of such divisive politics and just like all of that really coming from the top, dividing us because it is politically expedient to do so, we need to kind of take our power back and be like, you know what? Like we need to be able to talk to our neighbors again, and we need to be able to not just say, are you on the left or the right, and then dismiss people or not, right? We have to be able to have these conversations. And, we can't expect everyone to agree with everything we say all the time, but that is real life. That's your dinner table. Those are your coworkers, right? We're never going to overcome the dehumanization of each other if we can't just sit down and talk to each other. And I'm not saying that we need to make excuses for actually terrible people, who want to see bad things happen to bad people because they're bigoted or ignorant or anything like that. I'm not saying, that we shouldn't question people's intentions or the things that they believe or the things that they support, especially when they have public platforms like both Candace and Anna do. But it's like what Anna actually said in one of the first clips that you played there, Cenk. As long as someone wants to have a conversation in good faith, then we need to be able to have those conversations. And Anna can do it on a podcast, but the rest of us, we need to do it in life, because there is no way we're gonna come out of these 10 years better than where we were before if we cannot do that. And I really just wanna see more of that happening.
Yeah, my last words here are, look, first of all, I'm not against anyone saying Candace has said outrageous things. I've said that Candace has said outrageous things, and I say it today. That's not a problem at all. Disagreeing with Candace Owens is not a problem. Disagreeing with us is not a problem. But if you say that, hey, I care a lot about marginalized communities, but she's defending the most marginalized or among the most marginalized communities, and she's defending them with great vigor, but I don't really care about that marginalized community. I only care about the other ones. So don't talk to her, don't promote the good things that she's saying, the things against bigotry. No, end that conversation entirely and don't let anyone hear the positive things she's saying. Well, I don't agree. And so, look, most important thing, guys, is do not lend out your brain or your independent judgment to anyone else. Don't loan it out to Candace so that you agree with every single thing Candace says. Use your judgment. What makes sense and what doesn't? What is she right about and what is she wrong about? What is she really right about? What is she really wrong about? But all those things can happen because we're all human. Don't lend out your brain or independent judgment to Anna or me. And also don't lend it out to mainstream media. A lot of people in this country think the New York Times or CNN is their Bible. Well, if the New York Times said it, if CNN said it, it must be true. No. Those organizations have tried to brainwash you for a long, long time. And if you just believe what they're saying is true and you don't double check, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt, and we have been for decades. And guys, it's not just about Israel. The big pharmaceutical companies robbed us blind. Every single lobby robbed us blind while mainstream media told you it was normal. And they never looked into the money, they never looked at what the powerful and the rich were doing to rig the rules. That is not normal. Do not lend out your independent judgment to anyone, including mainstream media in this country, that does not have good intent. Make up your own mind, listen to everyone, and then make your own decisions. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.